Hi, this is Kate Christoffel for Hesed International with a word of knowledge for June 5th, 2022. This is called Children Are Fresh Out of Heaven. And so this is the word of knowledge. Our lives are like, if we look at it from a chronological perspective, we actually were alive. We were in the spirit realm, in heaven, in the spiritual realm, we were alive. Because it says, the Creator says, before I formed you in the womb here on earth, I knew you before you were born. I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. And that's in Jeremiah 1:5. So that says we existed before we were conceived in the womb here on earth. So we existed in the spirit realm. We existed in heaven. And there in the Creator's heart, we were given a fingerprint, right? That's unique and no one else has. And we were given a purpose, a worth, our worth and our identity that is unique to us. No one else can fulfill that, right? Okay, so we had that. We knew that we were in heaven. It was, it was ingrained and implanted in us. But then we came down to earth. We were born in an earthly way, in a bodily form, right? So we were fresh. The children, the babies, are fresh out of heaven, right? And now what happens, we go through life on earth, right? And we have some bumps and bruises, some traumas, some worse than others. And we go through life. And generally what's been happening in the world is we become conditioned to the world's ways, and we forget what our original purpose, worth, and identity was back here before we were born. We were sent here with those get forgotten and not taught to us, we're not encouraged to fulfill that. We go through life, and then our bodies die and we return to the spirit realm, right? And one of two routes, we either go to heaven or we go to hell. So let's just back up a little bit here. So then why bother? Why bother coming to earth, right? Well, we come for two purposes, right? And the first is, it's to figure out, do we want to go to heaven or do we want to go to hell? Where do we want to spend the rest of eternity, right? And that's our choice. We get to choose that, right? And everybody has a choice, and we accept that. Well, I accept that. And so how do we make that choice? Well, that time on earth, there's two reasons. Remember I said, one is to find Jesus, and then to make a choice to believe in him or not believe in him, or to follow him or not follow him. And that's what determines whether we go to heaven or hell, and that's where we spend the rest of eternity. So that's where our choice comes in. All right, so that's the first person, for ourselves to understand Jesus and make a decision for or against him. And the second reason is to help others find Jesus, and so they can make their decision, right? Because if they never hear about Jesus, then they don't have the chance to decide, right? But we respect their choices once they decide, and away they go. All right, so that's kind of a chronological timeline of our lives. And it says, let's see here. So our time on earth, right? The Creator says, what is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little time and then vanishes. And that's in James 4:14. Means that our time here on earth, it seems like it's taking a long time, but really it's but a mist, a breath, an instant, right? And just here for those two purposes. And then it's gone, right? Very quickly, although it feels like to us like it's taking a long time. But in reality, in the whole perspective of where we were and where we're going, this is just a really, really short period of time chronologically. All right. And it does say, the Creator does say, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one gets to the Father in heaven except through me, right? So what the Creator says, the way to get to heaven is through Jesus. That's what our Creator says. And that's in John 14:6. All right. So, and then conversely, right, for the other side, if people don't choose him, it says, the Creator says, "Depart from me, you who are cursed, into eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels." So there's our choices, and we get to choose again. Okay, so let's go back to the original purpose of this video. Is children are fresh out of heaven. Right? So freshly from that place where they were immersed in their purpose, their worth, and their identity, right? So we're all here for a reason, right? Some are teachers, some are firemen, some are doctors, and some are electricians, and some are housekeepers. We all have different purposes. So we come out of heaven, and it's fresh in them. They remember. It's in their hearts, right? It's fresh. They know. And that's why we call babies so innocent and pure, right? It's in them. They know. They just can't verbalize it, right? And they don't have the large and small motor skills to be able to execute it at that point. But that's where we come in as adults. Our job is to help that baby become the fullness of their purpose, worth, and identity, right? To keep fanning that flame that's in their heart from heaven, that heaven flame, right? To keep fanning it so they become what the Creator created them for, right? That's our job. Now, I've never really quite thought of it this way until, the Creator gave me this message. We see children at very, very young ages playing the piano unbelievably, like way better than I can, for sure. But it's miraculous, right? Or we see children playing sports, and it's miraculous how these children are playing sport. Or they're singing, or they're drawing, or painting, or sculpting, or they're solving. We know through certain education programs, children can do math at like 3, 4, and 5 years old, but it's not that we're pushing them, not at all. In some cases there is that, but really it's because they're fresh out of heaven. They have the capability, but what we've done is we've dumbed down their education. We've made them fit into a box, like, my father was a lawyer and I'm a lawyer and you're going to be a lawyer too, Bobby. And you know what I mean? Like we make them fit into our boxes instead of fanning that flame of what they were created to be, their unique fingerprint on this earth. And so that's our job. And I think we need to consider that for this new generation, this generation that is going to finish the race. And it says in 2 Timothy 1:6-7, it says, "I'm writing to encourage you to fan into a flame and rekindle the fire of the spiritual gift God imparted to you." Right? And, and then it goes on to say, "For God will never give you a spirit of fear," right? A fear of being that. All right. So, now for us adults, right? So let's take that on as our role with the children, is to fan those flames in these children. And I believe we're going to see children do things that we've never considered possible, right? But that is our job. All right. And now for us adults, all right. So some of us, we go most of our lives being steered and turned and traumatized and controlled, and we've long forgotten that time way back there in heaven, right? That was a long time ago, right? Some of us more than others, right? But it's still in there. That little memory of who we were is still there. It's buried under a bunch of layers, buried under a bunch of trauma, buried under a bunch of, you can't do that, you're a dreamer, you're not smart enough, you're not this enough, you're too much of that, right? We get discouraged, right, from fulfilling that. So what I'm saying to us adults, I'm saying, let's fan that flame in our hearts and remember what we were. It's in here. It's built into us, right? It says we're created in the Creator's image. It says that, right? So let's ask the Creator to bring that back in us, to fan that flame so we can find that and fulfill our destinies. All right. And it says, let the children come to me. Do not stop them. For the kingdom of heaven belongs to those who are like these little children. In other words, we're like what we were as children, fresh out of heaven. All right. And it also says, I tell you the truth, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And whoever welcomes a little child like this in my name welcomes me. And that's in Matthew 18, 3-5. So what he's saying here is, let's remember our childhood. Let's remember what we were when we were fresh out of heaven. All right, that's the word of knowledge for today. I bless you to discover what your purpose, worth, and identity is. And let's parent, coach, teach from that perspective. Let's fan these flames.